happens here. You're live, it says, so we must be live at this point. And if we are, hello to those of you who are joining us, even though this app tells us that we are not live at the moment. But
well,
it does say we're live, so I'm going to guess that we're live. If there it comes, yes, we're live. Okay, so once again, this terrible Mevo app. It's terrible. It's made to go live. It's made for streaming. That's the only thing this camera is made to do. Its purpose is streaming, and their app is so terrible that you don't know actually when you're live or not live.
But we won't get into the details. You could go to our video on the terrible apps.
Yeah, so...
I don't remember what we named it.
We just ended, apps. Badass apps or something, I don't know. Hey, we just ended our conversation on Uberfest this year, and we decided to stay live for another half hour and take general questions. So, fire away. If not, we're just going to sit here and be bored.
Hello from London.
Hello, London. See, we got chat people.
Hello, Los Angeles.
Hello, Los Angeles.
Walter, I don't know where you're from.
Yeah, you didn't tell us.
But hello, Walter.
And thank you for telling us we're live. If anybody has any RV questions for us, I'm David.
And I'm Brenda.
And we're from OutsideOurBubble.com, transmitting from our motor coach in lovely North Texas, Jellystone Park in Burleson, Texas.
Yep.
And, hey, let's try something. Let's try sending this over to our casting. Let's try casting.
We are going to be leaving here next week, or this coming week, and we're going to be driving to Arizona, spending a few nights at a state park that we like there, and we are going to be streaming live the entire trip like we discussed that we're going to do. For some reason, people like to watch us sit in our chairs and drive, so we're going to do that. Although we do answer questions along the way, and it passes time. So
I think I might have started streaming to somebody else's device because they put their device on the public network, which happens to be on the same access point we are.
So somebody's watching us on their TV.
I might have just streamed to somebody else's TV. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. So if you're watching us on your own TV right now,
you need to lock it down and put a password on there or something.
Yeah. What a riot. Any case. So yeah, we're just kind of hanging out. We have nothing really on schedule to talk about this time, so it's up to you.
If you have any RV questions, feel free to just type them in the thing, because we can't hear you yelling at the computer. So
somebody did type something 2 years ago. We helped with Wi-Fi link. Will you do it again? Oh, are you talking in Uberfest, John? We tried to do a Wi-Fi link. I think you're referring to Uberfest. We tried to establish a local network there in our group, and I threw up a directional 4G antenna, and then I threw up some access points that I had on hand to try to get some signal out to our guests, and it didn't really work that well, John. And last year, the data throughput was so poor, there was nothing for me to share. We were lucky if we got 1.5 megabits, and so there was really nothing we could share at that speed.
It's just oversaturation in that area during that time.
Let's see, Bounder Chris, I installed my Wastemaster last night thanks to your recommendation. Just curious, do you have any tricks on storing that big hose with the end?
It won't go in the normal storage.
Yeah, ours went right in our normal storage, so I really don't have any thoughts on that. I do know that there are, I think you can check with LCI or check with Drain Master. Drain Master is actually they're the ones who actually developed the Wastemaster, and then they sold that to LCI. However, I believe Drain Master, look them up at drainmaster.com or Drain Master, you'll find them. And I believe they have a housing that you can mount underneath your motor coach where the tube will slide into. So you can house it under the coach. Basically, you can connect it somehow underneath the motor coach. So
kind of like with the Class Cs that have it on the bumper or something.
Yeah. So you might want to check into that to see if that's a possibility or not. Ours, we have a nice large area for our wet bay area for our hose and sewer connections. So our hoses, not only did our hose fit in there, but so did the extension that we have.
Jeff is getting the Wayfarer Tiffin. That's Tiffin's new Class C.
That's the Class C, yeah. Wayfarer's a nice little machine. Congratulations on getting your new motorhome next year. That's
we
neat,
haven't
Jeff.
seen any in person, but there's some people up on Facebook on the Tiffin group that have ordered them and gotten them. And, you know, Tiffin has great customer service and build quality, so I don't see why this would be any different. You okay there, love?
It went down the wrong way.
Coffee went down the wrong way.
I'm going to mute this for a second. Where's the mute button? Are you kidding me? There's no mute button? Seriously. Wow. Wait. Must be really red now. Woo. Excuse me. Pardon me. Went down the wrong way. And tried to turn off that microphone as quick as I could. Didn't work too well.
So Rich and Sue, what's the generator exhaust tube you mentioned for Uberfest? The Gentry.
It's called the Gentry. Basically, it's PVC piping that you can hook up to the exhaust of your generator or your Aquahot.
The exhaust pipe that
comes out. Basically, they call it a Gentry because it's a Venturi effect, which is a scientific principle. And basically, it goes onto your exhaust and it shoots up a pipe and it draws the air out and in, and then it puts it out above your motor coach, away from excuse me,
the ground
and
people.
Going, yeah. So people have actually died from exhaust fumes from a person's generator. Sad to say, that happened at NASCAR events. So NASCAR mandates now that Genturies are used if you use a generator.
Yeah, because they park so close.
Yeah.
Some of these are more technical questions for you because I can't talk about them. Art says he traveled 5 months in Western states. He's home now in Palm Beach, RV and storage. Fifth wheel question. Do you just turn off the power? No plans to take it out for about 3 months?
Yeah, I would just... we don't own a fifth wheel. We own a Class A. And when we weren't traveling full time, our Class A was plugged in all the time. We actually... we stored it and had it on power the whole time. So in my opinion, and I don't know if you have batteries in your fifth wheel or not, but it sounds like you do, I would definitely just shut off the 12 volts unless you have the option to plug a 110 line into a charger and then leave it charging. But for the most part, for the amount of months, you're talking about 3 months, these are car batteries for the most part. They should not drain and die off in 3 months. That's my opinion.
Neil wants to know, have you ever run cabling for side view cameras? Just wondering how hard that would be.
Have not. These motor coaches come with side view cameras in the mirrors usually, or on the sides of the front of the coach. So never had to do that. Never had to run cameras. I don't see that it would be very hard to run, especially if you're doing it in the front of the coach, because you got your dashboard right there. You can feed things through to the front, and then you have, usually on the Class A, you have full access to inside that cavity where you can just run wires and pop through the fiberglass. I wouldn't think that would be too hard. Excuse me for a moment. It's gonna make noise. Wait, let me.
Can you mute it again?
Yeah. Okay, you can talk to Brenda now. Excuse me, be right back.
Hi. David just had to run away, but yeah, Jeff was saying about the Wayfarer. Yes, getting for their customer service. They're in Memphis and have done the factory tour. Yeah, Tiffin has a great factory tour if you ever find yourself in the area. But there's a lot of factory tours around. That's one of the things actually that we like to do sometimes, just to take not only motor coach factory tours, but other factory tours around the country.
Sorry for the noise. Oops, sorry about that. I'm not going to rewire myself here. I'm just going to throw this on here. You guys don't mind seeing the cord, right?
Jim wants to know, any thoughts on the new snap pads for HWH pads?
Yeah, those are interesting, by the way. Snap pads they're not available for our coach. Our pads are not the right size unless they've changed that. But snap pads are interesting. They basically extend the width of your jack pads. And people, you notice people usually put boards and stuff under their jack pads. That's to serve two purposes. One is to not to hurt the surface that this metal pad is being pushed down onto, but the other reason is to spread the weight out across the larger surface, thus not sinking. That's the general use of pads, is you want to create a larger surface so you have so you don't sink as easily as a more spread. The weight is spread out over a larger area, if you will. But so these pads, they're permanent pads that basically you line them up. You start putting your. For those of you who don't know what a snap pad is, you line them up as you put your jack down, and then when your jack goes down, it goes into the pad and locks it into place, and it basically increases the footprint size of your pad, and it stays connected all the time, so you don't have to slide jack pads in or out underneath your motor coach when you get anywhere. I think they're a neat idea. I looked into seeing at the time if we can use them on our coach, but they did not have ones that fit. They did, however, say if I sent them dimensions, they can look to make them, and I just never followed up with them. But overall, if I would have had the opportunity, I probably would have snapped them on this coach. Snap pad. Get it? See what I did there? Snap.
It's a good name.
Thank you. So yeah, that's my thought on that.
Loda wants to know what our first coach was. I can answer that because it's not a techie question. Our first coach, we started traveling in 2008, and we bought a 2008 Gulfstream Tourmaster. It was a Class A diesel pusher, 43 feet long. And then when we went to look full time and sold our house, we knew that floor plan wasn't going to be good for full timing for us, even though we loved the coach. So we just looked for a coach that we were comfortable with full timing in with the floor plan, because that's the key, is floor plan.
Yeah. So yeah, floor plan is the key, and our first coach we liked a lot, and this coach we love a lot. And we haven't, people ask us, hey, when are you getting a new motor coach? Because you talked about getting it. Well, we will not get another motor coach until we find a floor plan that we like better than this one.
Yeah.
And right now, there has not been a single floor plan for us that fits more than we like this 45 LP.
And let's face it, David has this coach tweaked out with all sorts of things that it would take us a month just to, get all of that stuff off of there and transfer it into a new one.
Yeah, to reduplicate the layout and the controls we have in the coach, it would take some time, but it would give me something to do. Yeah, we just have not found another floor plan yet, and we have submitted a floor plan to Tiffin to consider, and I don't know how far, how that goes.
Bounder with Chris, this is a question for you, because I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. Somebody said their Tiffin owners are currently testing it for SnapPad. I don't know how much testing there would be involved. They already have the SnapPad for other ones. All they do is got to make one that will fit the foot. And then as long as it fits the foot, and there's no testing involved. It works or it doesn't work. Anyways, that's just me. Because they already have a product. They just have to make the right size just to fit that. Anyway, sorry.
Founder with Chris says, when you guys plug in at campsites, have you ever had problems with the dog bones if you have to drop down to a 30 or 15 service? I've seen people melt cords doing so.
Yeah, we have two. We have seen people melt cords. Actually, we have had not our cord have the issue, but the 30 amp plug have the issue, which then fried our cord. Our cord was fine until we plugged it into the 30 amp and it melted.
That was on the Tourmaster, though.
That was not on this coach. That was on the Tourmaster. So it may or may not be the issue with the doggle or the converter. It could actually be the 30 amp fuse, which breaker outlet, which normally would not be the case, though. But yes, you are correct. I've also seen that happen to others, and we had one, but it wasn't due to the doggle itself. If you have to use one, you have to use one. I mean, there's no use it or not use it. If you have to use one, you have to use one, and you hope that you bought one that's good and that it was manufactured well and not half-assed, excuse me. The reason these things catch on fire is because when the wires are connected inside, they're not properly secured. And if there's any giveaway or any gap or anything between that, it's going to create these micro arcs, these arcs of electricity across there. And as they arc, they're very high intense in heat. And even though they're very small and you might not even hear them or anything that are happening, they will build up such heat that it'll start to melt that plastic. And that's because the wires were not cramped down correctly, twisted on correctly, you know, with a screw, whatever. And that's why those things end up melting. They're not because they're crossed wrong or anything like that. It's because they're not connected properly. Inside, they're not properly connected.
Michelle wants to know, first time with AquaHot, do you need a Gentry for the AquaHot as well? So 2 Gentries. Also, have you had to adjust the temperature for our AquaHot?
Most people don't use Gentries on their AquaHots. You can, and I have seen people do so because maybe they have an older one that burns diesel fuel and it blows smoke. In that case, I have seen that going on. I know I mentioned it. That's because I've seen it. And so I don't think NASCAR requires one for AquaHot, but they do require it for generator use, for example. And the other part of that question was?
The other part of that question was, have you had to adjust the temp of your AquaHot?
No, we haven't had to adjust the temp, and I think what you mean by that, there's only one way to adjust the temperature of the AquaHot, and that is control the amount of cold water it mixes it with. Because in a boiler situation, the water coming out of the boiler is so hot that you actually have to temper it before it goes to you. So they actually have a valve in there that you turn, which basically is mixing in more cold water to the hot water that's coming out, just to temper it down some. They might be called summer or winter mode, depending on how you turn the dial, because you don't need as much heat in the summertime, because the water coming out of the ground is already much warmer than it is in the wintertime. So I slightly turned down the mixture. I slightly turned down the mixture so less cold water is going in, so our water is purposely hotter. But be aware, doing so can be scalding, because the water coming out of a diesel boiler is extremely hot. So if that's what you meant, we didn't adjust it because we had to. We adjusted it only because we wanted a little bit hotter water. Has nothing to do with heating your coach, by the way.
Kurt wants you to list the tweaks that you've done. That's just way too many.
I don't know if I remember them all. Everything from LED lighting to, I don't know, modifying the fireplace to become a storage unit. I mean, there's so many little things that has happened. I added, for example, docking lights. I added docking lights to the rear of the coach because Tiffin doesn't have docking lights on their coach. Why?
They have them on the sides.
But why don't they have them on the rear where you really need them? I don't know. But we missed it from our Tourmaster because we had docking lights on our Tourmaster. So I added LED docking lights to the rear of the coach. Stuff like that. So there's a lot of modifications. If you come to Uberfest, I can show you some of them, but other than that.
Well, we do have on our site, outsideourbubble.com, we do have a recommended items page, and that he does have a lot of things like the water filtration system and things like that we've done.
Yeah, power protection, water.
Big things like that.
Yeah. So if you look at outsideourbubble.com, click on recommended products, there's a whole list of products that we have used in the past that might not be on this coach, and also things that we are using on this coach as well.
Danny says, I want to share my Dish Wally receiver with another TV in my coach and don't want to run a cable. Do they make wireless HDMI, and would I need a hub to do so?
Yes, they make wireless HDMI. They've come a long way in the years. I actually come from the consumer electronics industry, and they do work well. But you have to find one that is on that doesn't mesh, that doesn't get in the way. They're usually transmitted over 5 gigahertz or 2.4, but sometimes 5. And you got to make sure that you're not too far away and there's not too much in the way to block that signal. But yeah, you can get wireless HDMI. If you want to get something to your bedroom, that would be one way. There's also now HDMI over HDMI, depending on how old your coach is, HDMI over RG6. So you can actually run HDMI RF signal wise. Well, basically it converts it to RF, goes across your regular coaxial cable, and then it basically retunes it to something else on the other side and gets you HDMI. The best way to do it is if you can, you run Cat 6 cable, which is very thin, and you do HDMI over Cat 6. But wireless does work.
Jeff wants to know, which dash cam do we use?
There's actually 2 cameras running on our dashboard right now, and I'm not sure which one you mean. If you mean the one that you can see live right now on the website, that is a Micro 7 camera that I have mounted to the upper part of our dashboard. If you're talking about our dash cam, that is our black box recorder, we use the black view. A 2-channel black view. And what we do with the second channel is the second channel, which is a second camera.
Which is usually in the rear.
Yeah, which is usually in the rear of a car, is we actually put it up in the corner of above our driver's seat, pointed at our entry door. So every time, it's all motion sensitive, so anytime anybody comes in or out of the motor coach, it's recorded. So it also acts as a security camera that way. We also added a new camera to the rear of the coach. So if you're looking at our front cam, we also now have a rear cam.
That's also Micro 7.
That's right? Also Micro 7, and that's live 24 hours a day also.
Right now you just see grass, so it's not terribly interesting, but might be interesting when we're going down the road.
Yeah, when we're going down the road, it might be quite interesting to look at. You can have a front view and a rear view.
We'll have our Jeep hooked up, so maybe it won't be interesting.
No, it'd be interesting to see how it rides, to see the Jeep being pulled behind the motor coach, in real time. You can see the...
Well, we'd get a different angle. We do have our rear camera.
No, that's for us. That's not broadcasted.
That's not broadcast.
They would be able
That's
to
what
see
I'm saying. It's not
so
broadcast.
So anybody who hasn't pulled a vehicle before and wondering what it looks like or whatever, they can see it in real, you can see it in real time.
Lotus says, how do you know that you have the proper one? I think they're referring to the 30 amp, 15 amp.
Oh, you don't.
Thing.
You don't. Just my recommendation is, if you're buying on Amazon, which who doesn't these days, look at the reviews and the number of purchases. Usually the number higher reviews that are 4 stars or above are usually a better product to purchase. So there's no way, unless you buy one, that you can physically open up and check the connections on. But usually they're plastic molded, so you can't. So that's about that.
Barrett says, what are your thoughts on satellite internet products for RVs, and how has your Tiffin held up?
Satellite, we used to use satellite for our RV in our Tourmaster. I had a G74 satellite dish that was up on the roof that we would get somewhere. We would push a button just like your Traveler dish. It would go up, find the internet satellite, lock on and everything, and be in your off and running. However,
very slow.
Back then, it was only HughesNet back then, and it was very slow. And it was very costly. Not only did we spend $4,000 for the dish, but it was not very quick speeds either, and it was costly. It was over $100 a month for service. Nowadays,
we're talking like 2008, 2009.
Yeah,
2010.
We had it. That
was a while ago.
Yeah, we had it all the way to 2012, I think. But nowadays, satellite, you can get speeds as fast as 4G off a satellite. But the problem is there's nothing for the RV that you can put on the roof that will automatically deploy. There's nothing that I know of, I should say, that gives you in-motion capabilities, even though it exists. It really does exist. Airplanes use them, for example. I don't know, why somebody does not have a flat platter for the top of a motor coach, and maybe they do, and I haven't seen one recently, but I stopped researching satellite technology because it just got so costly to use. I'm not going to get somewhere and try to point a dish at a satellite to get internet unless I'm staying there for a very long time and 4G is not available. That's the only way I would do that. Hope that helps. And how's our Tiffin held up? It's held up great. We would buy another Tiffin if that's what you're getting to.
This is a 2014.
Yeah, 2014. And we would buy another Tiffin if they came out with a different floor plan that would fit our needs better than what we have now.
But we like this one.
Yes.
Phil wants to know, when you dry camp, how much of a concern is the CO coming from your generator? Do you run it while you sleep?
I don't know anybody who runs their generator while they sleep. That would be an awful waste of fuel. I don't know why you would have to.
We don't just run off your batteries when you sleep.
Yeah, and people actually we have a full-size residential refrigerator in our motor coach, which is the biggest draw of energy in the coach when you're on battery
we're all
power.
electric.
Yeah, so it's the biggest draw of power when we're on battery is our refrigerator. And people actually, to save power overnight, they actually turn off their refrigerator. And the reason is because the refrigerators are so efficient, holding temperature, holding the coldness wise, they're so good that you can shut them off for overnight, and your food is not going to get too warm that it's not going to cool down.
You're not going in and out of the refrigerator, opening the door, so it's just going to be a giant cooler.
I mean, yeah, even simple igloo coolers these days, you put a thing of ice in there and you can leave that thing shut for days, and we know that because we've done it. So yeah, you can I don't know why you would run your generator at night, and you don't need to. And no, we've never had an issue with CO from our generator personally. And if we are parked next to somebody, we do use a Gentry just because we don't want those fumes being pushed out to that motor coach.
Yeah. Getting back to cameras, somebody asked what happened to the bot lot cam. Worked for a while after you left, but it's offline now.
The park closes.
Yeah, it's a seasonal park, so they shut down for the season, so they shut all the power off.
Thank you for reminding me of that. I need to remove that from the website because people will click on it and that won't be there. So I have to remove that. So thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, but the park closes, the electricity's off. Without electricity, we have no internet.
And Phil, no, your air conditioners will not run off of the batteries.
No, they will not. AC, you have to be running on generator because ACs draw a great deal of power. They cannot run off a battery.
Yeah, so if we find ourselves in a situation where we're traveling and we need the ACs because it's like 90 degrees outside.
For nighttime sleeping.
For nighttime sleeping, we'll find a campground along the way and plug in.
And if we don't, what we will do is we will run our ACs before we go to bed. We will be in bed, because we have a button right next to our bed that we can shut the generator off.
Yeah.
And we will run those ACs on full power and get it as cold as we can in the motor coach before turning off the AC to go to bed. And then hopefully we'll be able to sleep, because we don't like sleeping when it's warm. We can't sleep. It's terrible for us.
Tony wants to know, do you record your dash and backup cam to the NAS or server?
No, we don't. We don't record our dash cam or our backup cam. To our server, no, but we do have micro SD cards in them.
I was going to say, they got the little cards.
Yeah, they do have micro SD cards in them. They're 64 gigs, and they record on motion. So you can imagine when we're traveling, it's always recording. And so we can flip through a 64 gig card pretty quickly. But we don't record to the NAS. It's just, I don't see a need to do that, personally.
Bounder with Chris says, I just replaced the chassis battery with a good Odyssey AGM deep cycle. Would like to replace the coach 6 volts, that's volts, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be the best batteries to choose?
Lifeline AGM batteries are the ones I recommend. And it's the one also you'll find it's highly recommended online and what have you. Lifeline are the same batteries that the U.S. military uses. They are actually built to withstand motion and movement and jostling around. The plates are actually thicker to stand up to more of the abuse they would get on the road, and especially in a military vehicle. So look into Lifeline batteries, Lifeline AGM. Then you don't have to deal with making sure the water's good or anything.
And Chris, I think you had mentioned earlier that you were from LA and you were looking to see where Quartzsite, Arizona is. There's a lot of people that get their batteries and stuff replaced there because there are some good prices to be had sometimes.
Yeah. So what else we got going on? Anyone else?
Have you traveled to the
Mincy? It says, have you traveled to the what? To the unknown? No, we have not. Actually, we have. Haven't we been to a place called Unknown? Some town was called Unknown Town or something? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
We
probably blogged about it if we did.
Why? We've been to Y.
We've been to Y, Arizona.
Why? I don't know.
It's spelled W-H-Y.
Why are you doing Y? We have no idea. It's a very small town.
I do remember that blog post.
Yeah. We also
have we been to the Upside Down?
No, we have
Stranger
not.
Things?
No, we have not been to the Upside Down. Sometimes we might think we have, but no.
He or she continued. Europe with your coach?
No. First off, getting the motor coach across to Europe would be very costly, and European roads, I don't believe, are built for this size coach. We're 45 feet long. I don't believe the roads out there are made for coaches this size.
Yeah, if we did something like that, we would probably rent a smaller RV for sure.
Yeah. We have taken the coach, not this coach, our other coach, which is 43 foot long. We did take that on a ferry over to Newfoundland. So we did do a ferry, put our coach on a ferry and go to Newfoundland for a month and a half.
That's an interesting video if you want to watch getting on and off of a ferry. David had the GoPro attached to the windshield, and that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I recorded the event going onto the ferry and then getting off. And you talk about tight quarters.
I was going to say, they get you tight in there where you got to be careful when you open your front door that you don't hit the next person next to you. And you're not staying in the coach anyway, so, but that's funny. Marcia says, do you ever meet up with other
YouTube I'm going to guess it's YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube RVers. I have not seen any collaborative videos with you in them.
No, we stick to ourselves. No, we them. Surely we've met them. We've never done any collaborative videos. We kind of think
we just do this for fun.
Yeah, we do this for fun. We do not do this for a living. We do this to fun and to help out others, because when we first started, there was none of this out there. None of this online.
Not a lot.
Yeah. And now anybody with a freaking camera or cell phone makes a blog and makes a video.
Yeah.
And I'm getting tired of it, quite literally. Some of these videos that are made, it's just, they're not only is some of the information just outright wrong, but it's also, I'm getting tired of seeing videos made for the purpose of trying to sell a product. And we don't do this for a living. Others do.
Well, on that note, you see videos out there about, just pushing a product and selling a product. We do product reviews, but these are things that we've bought ourselves
and used.
Found a use for, and said, hey, we should do a video on this. This would help other people. This is a pretty cool product. So that's what we do.
And if we ever hadn't gotten anything that somebody sent us, we disclosed that right in the start of the video. Like the last.
I think there was just that one.
Well, no, that and the WeBoost Sleek.
Oh.
But other than that, we buy everything, and if we buy something we don't use, we don't even do a video on it. What's the point? If we don't use it, why would we want to tell somebody else about it?
Jeff says, good point. See some people using a GoPro as a dash cam. Your thoughts versus a true dash cam?
GoPros don't record things like speed, direction, G-forces. Our dash cam is a true black box. Our dash cam records G-forces, left, right, up and down, acceleration, deceleration, impact, which is G-force. It records speed and map location. It's a true black box.
And like right now, we're sitting here parked, and so the black box, that's still running, but it's not constantly recording. It just records motion.
Yeah, or impact.
Or impact. So if somebody, comes up in a golf cart or something, is not paying attention, and they hit our coach, it's going to record that.
Well, it's going to see them first and start recording it. But if somebody hits the side of the coach, it's going to start recording it from the impact.
Yeah.
Alexa, play my notifications.
One new notification. From Amazon Shopping. David's shipment has arrived for Mevo Plus.
Oh, great.
The live event camera.
Oh, yay. Alexa, stop. So, in any case, I just saw that come in. I had to check.
I can answer this one. Christopher says, with a 45-foot motor coach, do you need a CDL or special driver's license? That all depends on what state that you domicile in and what state your driver's license is from. When we were in New York, we had New York driver's license, obviously. That anything over 26,000 pounds, we needed a Class R license, and we needed to take a driving test and a written test, and we both did, and we both got that classification on our driver's license. When we moved to Florida, there's no restrictions at all. Yeah. Anybody could just walk in, buy a 45 coach, and just take off.
It's scary.
So it all depends on what state you're from and what regulations they have.
Do we use an autoformer or similar device? An autoformer is basically a big choke. It's a transformer, if you will, for those of you who don't know what an autoformer is. Yes, we have one. We don't use it unless we need to, unless we're at a place that there's a lot of ACs running or a lot of power is being used, because the use of an autoformer is to increase the amount of voltage you have so you don't have a brownout, which will impact your anything electrical motor wise. It will hurt motors if you have low voltage and you're running your ACs or stuff like that. Your motors can be hurt by that, your electric motors. So we do have one. We don't always have it plugged in, however.
Jim said he met us in March in Red Bay, and he likes our videos and he's learned a lot.
Great.
So hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Bowder from Chris. I think you might have been up on Facebook asking this question or something, because I remember that question and I don't recall if I ever responded to it or not, but that's a David question.
I have a Winegard Wi-Fi LTE antenna and it seems to be pretty nice. Have the WeBoost RV, and when my phone is next to it, I get absolutely no boost. Well, that can be for a number of reasons. First and foremost, you cannot boost what you cannot get. So the first and foremost thing that is the most important about any type of amplification system is the right antenna. So you have to have a good antenna up on your roof, and the antenna is only made, it's a larger, so it can receive more signal from further distances away. It can collect more, if you will. So if you're in an area that has, you can't make something that's not there. So if you cannot receive a good signal because it's not there, you can't amplify it. So you can't make something out of nothing, in other words. So the first and foremost, if you have a good antenna on your roof and you are able to pull in more of a signal, that signal then can be boosted inside the motor coach for your cell phone. And so in other words, you can't boost what you can't get. So I don't know your situation or what have you, or where you may be that you're not seeing this, but I can assure you that if you have a signal, I can go from 104 dB and turn my booster on and put it up there, and I can see my phone drop to 87 dB, which goes closer to zero. You get the stronger the signal. So they work, but they only work if you have a signal to do something with. So you could have a bad antenna, you can have a bad wire, something like that, or maybe your contacts aren't tight. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure the situation you're in, but you need to consider that. So it does work. I've showed it in my video. I've showed it in every video I've done a WeBoost video on, from the WeBoost Drive 4GX to the WeBoost RV to the WeBoost Sleek. I've shown before and after installations of how it operates. So I know they work, but you can't boost what you can't get, or reception-wise.
They just popped up and said the problem was they had a good signal at the time.
So why are you using a booster? Actually, no. The reason you use a booster, even if you have a good signal at the time, is especially if you have an RV that's aluminum, you're a shield. If you go inside of your motorhome, you're a shield. You're walking inside of a shield, I should say. So bringing the signal, a booster then is used to bring the signal from the outside.
App just, I think the app just hiccuped.
Yeah, I think we're back online now. I think we just lost it for a second, so sorry about that. I was saying that you bring this to help get you cell phone signal inside. The antenna outside is used to bring the signal down to the amplifier, which then brings it down to the inside antenna, which then gives you signal on the inside of your motor coach. You saying that the problem was we had a good signal in the area at the time, that could be true. If you have a good signal, then you're not going to be able to boost. Actually, even if you have a good signal, that signal would show up being boosted, because a good signal is a signal and you can still boost it. So I'm not really sure what to tell you in that case, because even if I'm at negative 87, which is a good signal, and I turn it on, the only reason you may not see it is if you're so close to the cell tower that the booster will not activate, because it creates oscillation. And if it creates oscillation, that's not allowed to be done by FCC, and you don't want to do that anyways. It will shut the signal down. So that could be what is happening. It could be that you were so close and the signal was so powerful that it actually shut down the amplifier. In any case.
That's why he answers the tech questions. Kevin from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Are you still enjoying your Easy RV tire pressure monitor system?
Yes, it's still the only one I recommend. I have tested 4 different systems, and the Easy Tire was the one that we have stuck with, and I have not looked any further because it has not failed me, and it does everything that I want it to do.
We actually did a blog post earlier in the year when we were doing the southern tip of Texas. Our tire pressure monitoring system actually saved us from a worse situation. It alerted us that our tire pressure in our tow vehicle was getting low. And so we were able to pull over and found that we had picked up a nail in our tire. And if we didn't have that, we could have gone all the way down to the rim and possibly blown out, that whole area and dragged our
We would have
Jeep.
ripped the tire right off at some point. We wouldn't have known it. So yeah, the Easy Tire hasn't failed me. Since it hasn't failed me, I haven't gone looking at others. There's lots of ones that are coming out. Ones you can hook up to your cell phone via Bluetooth. I don't see the point of that. I'd rather have the monitor right there on my dashboard so it's always there. I don't want to have to turn on my cell phone or anything to see the tire pressures. But in any case,
Dennis just joined the chat. He's not sure if it's been asked yet. What 360 cell phone camera is your current go-to?
First off, as you're aware, this is not 360. We're not broadcasting in 360 right now, but the camera that we use for that is called Insta360. We use an Android phone, and they have an Android version of the Insta360, INSTA 360. So if you do a search for that, you'll find it. And they also make a version for iOS, Apple phones.
No other current questions yet.
So I think we're
Chris says they bought the Easy Tire also. Oh, Steve just popped up about an autoformer.
Oh gosh, yes. As far sorry, you don't know what I'm referring to. Steve said he noticed that we have a Hughes autoformer in our electric area. Do we also have a surge protector in line before the autoformer? We have a surge protector. It's the first thing that goes in after the reel. So you always want to have the surge, not just the surge protector, but a power protection system that is different than a surge protector. It's a surge protector, but it also monitors for things like ground faults, high voltage, low voltage, things like that. It does more than just surge. But I always have mine right off. It's internal to our coach, so the power line comes in from the pedestal and it goes directly into the power protection system. We use Progressive Industries, and then out of the Progressive Industries, and then it either goes from there to the autoformer and then into the coach, or it goes directly into the coach. I have male and female plugs that I do that with. So I take it from the Progressive Industries protection system to the coach, or to the autoformer and then to the coach.
This person says, I've noticed that one of the coach makers have been putting in dual inverters in their coaches. Do you see a real need for that?
I always wondered why they did that. Dual inverters only allows you to use more power in different places of the coach. And because inverters can only put out so much power, we've never run into an issue where we haven't had power enough in our coach. Dual inverter or not, and I when I've seen them, they've always seemed to be, the inverter was being used mostly for the refrigerator only, which didn't make much sense to me. So good or bad, I don't know. I couldn't tell you either way if it's good or bad. I know that our inverter we love because we actually have, well, if we run full power, say it's so hot, 3 air conditioners running, and we're doing laundry, and then we go to cook with the microwave. And our old coach, we would blow the breaker. And
way before that.
Way before that. And this time around, when we didn't even know this at the time, but Brenda was running all this stuff. We were running all this stuff.
And then it just dawned on me.
She goes, how are we still got power? And I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, all 3 ACs are on. I'm doing wash and drying, and I'm cooking with the microwave and our stovetop, and we still have power. And I said, what? So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went over to the inverter control panel, and I saw something I had never seen before. It said inverter assist. It was actually taking power from the battery bank to supplement for the overdraw of our amps, which was cool. Now we only have one inverter. So we were running all of that stuff off of one inverter. And so it was actually pulling power from the battery banks. It's called inverter assist. And we didn't even know it had it in there. I knew it existed. I didn't know our inverter had it. But that was really cool. So that doesn't much answer your question, other than to say we've never had a need for 2 inverters. That's just another thing to go bad, I guess. But I don't know what it's being used for, so.
Are there different versions of inverters where one might only be able to do so much power, so you need a second one?
Yeah, the wattage, the amount of wattage an inverter can do at one time is not, it's not infinite. So is, you know, you can have a 2200 watt inverter or whatever. So it could be something that regard that they're using two inverters for the wattage. But again, we've never run into an issue where our single inverter hasn't covered this coach, and this is an all electric coach.
Yeah. Now we have Brazil popping in.
Hello, Brazil. So we've been talking for a while here, and we did an Uber chat at 11 a.m. and
Central Time.
Yep, talking about Uberfest. Uber chat doing Uberfest. So that's how we started, and then we decided to continue talking to get some general RV questions, and that we did. So here's a question that goes out to you guys, and you guys can feel free to drop us a note on our at contact@outsideurbubble.com and just let us know the answer to this question. Again, contact@outsideurbubble.com. How many of you would like to see a weekly talk show? You know, breakfast morning with David and Brenda at a, you know, I don't know, at a certain time in the morning or a certain time in the evening. We would try to go live once a week.
So yes, and try to set it like the same time every week.
So it's like a television show,
it's like
if you
a schedule.
will. And now that, of course, will be only if we have bandwidth to do it, because we have to make sure we have proper bandwidth to do a live broadcast. But it's something we've been considering doing, which is different than anybody else. Because, like I said earlier in the show, everybody's doing videos now on one thing or another, right or wrong. They're doing them, and
there's some good and bad out there. There's some
good and bad out there. But nobody's doing weekly live broadcasts where we answer questions just like we are here. So we thought,
not that we've seen, yeah.
Not that we've seen. So we thought maybe we would do that. There's been podcasts that do it, but we figured we'd try something a little different. So in any case, if you think that's a good or a bad idea, currently there's 74 of you out there right now. Send us a note at contact@outsideurbubble.com.
We already have 3 yeses.
Oh, great. In any case, we're gonna end this chat at this point, and that's basically general RV chat with David and Brenda from Outside Our Bubble.
Yeah.
So, in any case, I'm David.
And I'm Brenda.
And we're from OutsideOurBubble.com, and we're asking you, when's the last time you got outside your bubble? Ours is every time we go live. Especially for her. See you guys.
Bye. You have to hit the button now.
Oh.